Good afternoon and welcome from the National Partnership for Student Success to our webinar today focused on moving from commitment to action, really diving deep on the National Partnership for Student Success Higher Education Coalition and some strategies for implementation for colleges and universities thinking about engaging in this work. My name is Kate Cochran, and I'm the Managing Director of the National Partnership for Student Success, and I'm excited to be here with you today to facilitate this webinar. A bit of an overview on our agenda. I will pass it over shortly to Maureen Tracy Mooney at the U.S. Department of Education for some opening remarks. Then we'll go into a bit more detail on the National Partnership for Student Success's call to action to engage more college students in supporting P-12 students. Then I'll go into some implementation strategies. We have a great panel discussion with a number of college and university leaders to talk about some of the strategies that they've used to make this work happen on their campus. And then we'll have a Q&A at the end. I encourage you throughout the webinar, if you have questions, please add them to the Q&A function that you should see at the bottom of your screen in Zoom. And we should have time to get to most of them, if not all of them, at the end of our webinar. With that, I will pass it over to Maureen Tracy Mooney from the U.S. Department of Education.
Excellent. Hi, everybody. I'm Maureen Tracy Mooney, a Senior Advisor in the Office of Planning, Evaluation, and Policy Development at the U.S. Department of Education. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Thank you for your work every day to support our students, whether big or small. Our youngest kiddos to our college students. We're very grateful for your leadership. As an administration, we've been laser focused on addressing the impacts of the pandemic on our P-12 students. We know the impacts of their learning has been significant. We know the impacts on their mental health, their broader well-being has been extremely significant. And we've been really working across the administration to take every action we can, whether it's working with Congress or administrative action, to make sure we're surging the supports and the guidance and the resources to the local level that our states and communities need to address the impacts of the pandemic. Part of that is the American Rescue Plan's elementary and secondary school emergency relief funds, which provided $122 billion in those funds to help address the academic and well-being needs of our students. We know so many of our schools and communities are focused on the high impact strategies like tutoring, like mentoring, like wraparound supports and coordinators that we know is really critical to addressing the needs of our students and that are rooted in caring relationships with adults, which we know are critical to the development of our young people. But we've seen that as our schools have implemented these programs, they've run into real challenges, whether that's staffing, making sure that they're aligning with their programs with the highest quality standards. And the administration really saw this challenge and came together from the Department of Education to AmeriCorps in partnership with the Everyone Graduates Center at Johns Hopkins to launch the National Partnership for Student Success to address those needs. The president has called for an additional 250,000 caring adults serving in the 5 targeted roles you'll hear about later as tutors and mentors and in 3 other high priority roles to address these needs of students. And a critical piece of that part of that puzzle is partnerships between local schools and institutions of higher education and our colleges and universities. We know that there's just a tremendous opportunity to have our college students serve in these high impact roles, and then it benefits not just college students, or not just our P-12 students, but our college students and universities as well. Universities are a critical piece of the puzzle when it comes to recovery and also helping prepare your future students. And we know that there's no better ambassador for colleges programs than the students themselves going out into the community, developing those relationships with young people. So as part of that effort, we put out a call to action about a month ago now, calling for colleges and universities to increase the number of their students serving in these high impact roles as tutors, mentors, student success coaches, wraparound supports coordinators, post-secondary transition coaches. And to do that in whatever way made sense for that, for your institution, if you're a college or university, including increasing the share of federal work study funds used for that purpose. You'll hear a little bit more about that in a moment. But we're really excited about this call to action, thrilled by the colleges and universities that have already publicly joined us in this effort, and are excited to engage more with you about what that means for your community, how you can make progress towards the president's goal. And with that, I'll just say again, thank you so much for joining today. We as a team at the department at the NPSS Hub are really here to support you as you figure out what role you can play in working towards the president's goal in supporting our P-12 students as they recover from the pandemic, and are here to support you. So please don't hesitate to reach out to our team, and we'll get you the support that you need. And with that, I'll give it back to Kate.
Thank you so much, Mo. Always a pleasure to have you here and share some information about the department's commitment to this work. Thank you. So as Mo shared, really this work has been taking place over the course of about the last 1.5 to 2 years. And early on, a number of stakeholders involved in the NPSS came together to strategize around how to best support young people at this time when we know there is both unprecedented need, but also unprecedented opportunity presented in the form of the American Rescue Plan, how to best support students. And to recover from the pandemic, we really know that young people need high quality and evidence-based tutoring and other individualized academic support that helps them recover from the impacts of lost instructional time over the last couple of years. Additionally, we know that academic support alone will not be enough. Trusting relationships with caring adults or near peers that support social, emotional, and well-being needs of students is also a really crucial part of this work. We also know that integrated student supports that address a range of student needs beyond school and academic needs are also really crucial, as are support in developing and implementing post-secondary plans to go into college and careers. But the challenge, among many, 2 primary challenges that we have heard the most from schools and districts working to implement is one, staffing. Knowing that it can be really challenging to find people ready to go into these roles. So that's a lot of the work that we're doing here at the NPSS to see where are there large groups of people, such as college students, who, if provided the right opportunities, training, and ongoing support, could be well positioned and well motivated to go into these roles. And 2, guidance around identifying and aligning programs with the highest quality standards to ensure that they are not just operating, but having a high impact on students that they serve. And as Mo mentioned, the National Partnership for Student Success is part of the Biden-Harris administration's response to these challenges and is a public-private partnership between the U.S. Department of Education, AmeriCorps, and the Everyone Graduate Center at Johns Hopkins, where I am based, and run what we call the NPSS Support Hub, which provides support to schools, districts, nonprofits, institutions of higher education, and state and local government agencies who are working to implement new programs, expand existing programs, or improve existing programs that provide high impact supports to young people. And a big part of what we are trying to do is foster collaboration and partnership between the range of stakeholders who already or could support young people around the country. And so specifically thinking about how can we foster collaboration between colleges and universities, between the P-12 sector, schools and districts, nonprofit organizations that support students through out-of-school time programs and in-school programs, and really connect those stakeholders with evidence-based and people-powered supports to support young people. And really, when we talk about these high impact roles and our goal of an additional 250,000 people serving in them, we're focused on tutoring, we're focused on mentoring, student success coaching, which is, I know folks may be familiar with at a higher ed level, less commonly known in the P-12 space, but really thinking about somebody who is a more intensive supporter of both academic and mentoring needs of a student. post-secondary transition coaching, or people who are providing pre-college or transition into college or career support for young people is also crucial. And we know something that many colleges and universities are doing around the country, which is very exciting. And finally, we're focused on people who are coordinating wraparound or integrated student supports. Over the course of the last year or so, we've built our coalition to now about 135 supporting champion organizations. And these are nonprofit organizations who range from small single site after school programs to large national organizations like Boys and Girls Club that partner with districts, communities, and colleges around the country to support youth. And it also includes a range of associations that represent our key stakeholders, such as superintendents, colleges and universities, teachers, etc. And so our current priority is really thinking about how we can engage colleges and universities, and most importantly, more college students in the work of supporting P-12 students with pandemic recovery and learning acceleration. So in the way that we're working to address this goal is really the Department of Education in early May released a call to action in the form of a Dear Colleague letter from the Secretary of Education, calling on colleges and universities around the country to commit more resources or increase the number of students that they place in these roles. So specifically, this call to action calls on universities to use at least 15% of their work study funds to compensate students who are working in community service roles, with a particular focus on increasing the number of people who are doing tutoring, mentoring, or post-secondary transitions work supporting K-12 students in these roles. Or we know that many colleges, or some colleges and universities who have been doing this work for a long time may already exceed that 15%. And at the same time, we know that there are folks who may be at 0% right now, given that over the course of the last year, many programs that engage P-12 students through community service and colleges have been put on pause as a result of the pandemic. So if folks don't want to set a 15% goal, there's an option to significantly increase the number of college students who serve in these roles through federal work study or through other funding streams, such as AmeriCorps, such as TRIO, or other funding streams that we know many colleges and universities have. And finally, part of this call to action is also to share information with the National Partnership for Student Success on baselines as well as progress made toward these goals. And we shared this this call to action with some additional audiences, including colleges and universities, schools and districts, and nonprofits through a stakeholder briefing hosted by the White House in late May to ensure that this message really got out to a broad range of people. So we know that there are many ways in which colleges and universities can already engage in this work, and many ways that this work can happen in a way that's quality. But over the course of the next couple of slides, I'm going to highlight a few initial implementation considerations based on feedback that we've received from folks in the field about places where there are barriers, challenges, and also opportunities for the NPSS to support folks. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is getting to a goal on your campus. I know a number of folks who have joined us today, including our panelists from Rockland Community College, from Texas A&M, University of Central Texas, and from Rhodes State College have already set public goals on their campuses to either increase the percentage of work study funding that they devote to compensating students in NPSS roles, or significantly increase the number of students who are serving in these roles. But I know many of you on this webinar today may not have yet set those goals, but might be interested in doing so. Really, the first piece of advice that I have in getting to a goal on your campus is to really understand what's going on your campus and consult a number of different people on campus. So first, administration and leadership, such as vice presidents, chancellors, directors, in relevant offices. And when I say relevant offices, this looks different from campus to campus, but really think about student affairs, student success departments, student employment, community engagement, enrollment, financial aid, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and others who may already be engaging in civic engagement, community engagement, or transition from high school into college types of supports. I also encourage you to consult coordinators of relevant P12 student support programs, such as many campuses have America Reads or America Counts programs, TRIO programs, or Gear Up, partnerships with organizations like Jumpstart that receive AmeriCorps funding and may also use work study funding, et cetera. And a couple key points that we found may be helpful to mobilize your campus toward a goal. So first, share that this is a voluntary initiative with strong encouragement from the federal partners at the National Partnership for Student Success to set a goal and show growth. This is really meant to be aspirational, but realistic, and there are no penalties for falling slightly short of a goal, for example. We're really looking to recognize through this effort growth made on campuses around the country. Another point here is that this, as Mo mentioned earlier, this can really be something that is mutually beneficial, both for a college, a community, and for college students and P12 students, because it provides meaningful work opportunities for college students, particularly those who are interested in exploring careers in education, youth development, or other human service fields, though we know this work can be valuable to a range of students even outside of those fields. It's also a crucial pandemic recovery initiative. Colleges and universities play a crucial role in their communities, and I know many of you have explicit community engagement goals as part of your organizational missions. Supporting P12 students in communities and ensuring that they are prepared to be the next generation of college students at your institution and others is a crucial way that colleges and universities can engage in their communities' pandemic recovery efforts. We also really encourage folks to think about what existing programs you have on your campus or what you may have had before the pandemic that might be able to be revived, expanded, quality improved, or re-envisioned at this point in time, rather than completely starting from scratch. Another place that we really encourage folks to lean in is think about what might already be happening in your community, even if it's off campus, at a district, at a nonprofit, a place where you might be able to partner with an organization that may be experiencing staffing shortages to provide people who are well suited and trained to be placed in roles that they're offering. And finally, I do want to highlight that the National Partnership for Student Success Support Hub is here to support you along the way. Stephanie on my team will drop some links in the chat to our website. There are a number of ways that you can reach out to us to get support, as well as resources available on our website. So next, I'd love to talk a little bit about some key considerations around implementation. These are obviously not the only considerations for implementation, but are some key things that in early conversations, I encourage every institution to consider when thinking about what this looks like on their campus. And we'll talk a little bit about some specific strategies during our panel discussion shortly. So the first thing is funding. While this call to action really has a heavy focus on federal work study funding, we encourage campuses to also think about what other existing funding streams may also support this work, such as AmeriCorps. Many campuses partner with organizations like Jumpstart, have Vista, AmeriCorps Vista, core members on campus to support coordination and recruitment, training, et cetera. TRIO or other pre-college transition grants from the federal government that your institution may receive or participate in, as well as other funding streams. We also encourage campuses to think about credit-bearing options. And while offering opportunities for meaningful paid work for college students makes doing this through work study particularly exciting and beneficial to students. We also encourage you to think about what programs on campus might already exist or could be expanded or created that are credit bearing, such as undergraduate or graduate courses or programs of study that involve service learning, internships, community engagement, or education practice. In particular, in education, engaging folks who are looking to go into fields in education prior to their student teaching, tutoring, and other academic support roles can be particularly beneficial to their practice, as well as the students that they provide academic support to. Next, transportation to and from off-campus jobs we know can be a particular challenge on many campuses, particularly for institutions that may not be located close to schools or youth serving nonprofits, or they're located in places that don't have strong public transportation infrastructure. We really encourage institutions to explore existing transportation options on campus and in your community that might be expanded or leveraged, either by your institution or through partnerships to support students to actually get to those off-campus jobs, knowing that that can be a common barrier for students. Thinking about shuttles that may exist in your community or on your campus that may be able to get a stop added, for example, rideshare options and vouchers, public transportation vouchers, if that's something that is available in your community, and other similar options. But really being intentional about transportation is something that we highly recommend. On timeline, in order to be impactful, we really encourage institutions to begin planning for your campus's 2-year effort starting this summer or in the early fall, and to set ambitious but realistic goals for implementation that leave sufficient time to establish positive partnerships with schools, districts, and/or nonprofit organizations in your community, to design high-quality programming in partnership with the community service site, and to leave time for college student recruitment into these roles, as well as onboarding, which, when working with children, may take longer than other off-campus jobs that your students are placed in, given typical background check requirements that are required for working with children in most locations. And also to allow enough time for training to ensure that college students are ready and prepared to provide high impact supports to young people. And finally, for additional guidance, I encourage you to check out our website at Partnership Student Success. Common challenges. You'll see some of those that we already have on our website, a number of spotlights there. And then by joining the coalition, there are also a number of opportunities to collaborate with the NPSS on speaking engagements, press, and recognition opportunities. So next, I'm excited. And I'm sorry. We also have a number of resources from the NPSS Support Hub, including no-cost technical assistance that all nonprofit institutions are eligible to apply for. The place that I specifically want to hone in here is on access to networks and matching and partnership support. We found that for a number of institutions, they're eager to connect with schools, districts, and nonprofits in their communities to implement this work. We have a very broad network of organizations involved in this effort and are excited to support institutions with matching and partnership support. You can apply for technical assistance at no cost using the link that was just shared in the chat. And next, I'm excited to turn to our panel discussion, which is really focused on implementation strategies and how implementation is going for a number of campuses who have set public goals to either increase the number of students that they place in these roles or dedicate a higher percentage of their work study funding to this work, and who are pretty actively working to implement new or emerging or relatively new programs. And so I'm excited to introduce Brendan Graney, who is Vice President of Enrollment Management at Rhodes State College, which is located in Northwest Ohio. Brendan oversees the offices of admissions, K-12 partnerships, financial aid, student services and engagement, and testing and accommodative services. Next, Clifton Jones is Associate Vice President of Enrollment Management and University Relations at Texas A&M University at the Central Texas campus. Clifton's work spans financial aid, community engagement, and more, and he serves as the point of contact for the National Partnership for Student Success at both the Central Texas campus, while also supporting the Higher Ed Coalition work with others in the Texas A&M University system. Dr. Jean Leandri is Dean of Career and Professional Development at Rockland Community College, which is located in Rockland County, New York, and is part of the State University of New York, or SUNY system. And he's responsible for workforce education and career readiness initiatives within the Division of Economic Mobility and Workforce Innovation, and leads several functional areas. Last but not least, we have Sharada Brooks Glenn, who is an interim career navigator at Rockland Community College. Sharada provides a variety of career advising services to students, including job recruitment and placement, and she holds a breadth of other program duties to support Rockland's career development framework and workforce community partnerships. So panelists, if you don't mind coming on camera, I'm really excited to start our conversation. I'd love to kick it off by really learning a little bit more about what each of you is working on. So we know that there are many ways in which this work can happen and many different models that can work well. I'd love to hear specifically from Sharada, from Clifton, from Brendan, a little bit about your programs. So Sharada, I'll start with you,
Okay,
then we'll go to Clifton, then we'll go to Brendan.
No problem. Good afternoon, everyone. So at Rockland Community College is in the town of Ramapo, New York, in Rockland County. It is part of the State University of New York. Rockland Community College serves around 5,000 undergraduate students. Rockland Community College federal work study students will serve as mentors in a leadership position to assist high school juniors and seniors to achieve a successful graduation. They will teach high school students how to successfully navigate the pathways leading them through high school to transition into college. As a career navigator, I oversee on-campus students' employment, which includes federal work study students. I will be partnering with the federal work study students as well as the high school districts in Rockland County, which are Suffern, Ramapo, and Spring Valley high schools.
Thank you, Sharada. Clifton.
Good afternoon. At A&M Central Texas, we're an upper division institution, so we only focus on junior, senior, undergraduate coursework and have very strong partnerships with our ISDs and community colleges, who are the primary providers of that gen ed freshman and sophomore level coursework. Through that, our institution has already had programs existing for focusing on tutoring of K through 12 students, whether it be in our student and civic engagement office that focuses on college readiness and helping that senior transition, or whether it's curriculum instruction department focused on teacher prep, going into onto campuses in partnership with the WIT program in Texas to focus on foster care tutoring services. And then the university libraries also have an on-campus, on the university site tutoring. So our program is focused, or what we're doing with this program is looking at how can we enhance what's already being done and increase the impact of those successful partnerships that exist between various university offices, the ISDs, and parents within the community to support these students as they seek assistance.
So important. Thank you, Clifton. Brendan.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Our program, which we just launched this past year, is our Young Scholars Program, which is basically a college promise program. So each year we're admitting a cohort of up to 10 eighth graders from underrepresented populations in our community. The goal of which is to help those students in areas like career development and exploration and college readiness. And we follow them from their eighth grade year all the way through to their high school graduation, with the hopes that when they graduate high school, they matriculate to us and then get 2 years of tuition-free college through our academic programs. And our work with the National Partnership for Student Success, with this coming year, we're hoping to use some of those federal work study dollars to hire a few of our students to engage as mentors and success coaches for our young scholars throughout the community.
Very exciting. Thank you for sharing, Brendan. And Brendan, my first one-to-one question is actually for you. While many colleges and universities are building on long-standing programs such as America Reads to answer the call to action, we know, as you just said, Rhodes State joined the NPSS Higher Education Coalition at a time when your campus is innovating on novel approaches to engaging the K-12 community around you. Can you tell us a bit about what it took for your campus to move from setting a goal and actually into action and supporting this relatively new program that places college students in P-12 support roles?
Yeah, so whenever we're starting a new initiative at the college, we look at two things: how that initiative fits within our mission statement and how that initiative fits within our strategic plan. So the Young Scholars Program in particular came out of the last iteration of our strategic plan and is very mission driven in that our mission talks about building communities and changing lives through lifelong learning. And our strategic plan had a large emphasis on serving underrepresented populations. And so our work through the National Partnership for Student Success also directly connects to our mission and our strategic plan, as we can use some of those federal work-study dollars to not just continue to serve our community, and in particular serve underrepresented populations within our community, but also provide an opportunity for our students to engage in that work as well and gain some really great work and life experiences in working with those populations out in our community. So it was a very easy decision to jump on board and engage in this work. We probably, like a lot of colleges, struggled during the pandemic with hiring and utilizing our federal work-study dollars. Coming out of the pandemic, we're really ramping up and trying to engage more of our students in federal work-study work, both within the college and out in our community. And so institutionally, we're committed to engage in that work, which made it easier for us. And on a personal note, I was a federal work-study when I was in my undergrad, and can draw a direct line from the experience I had doing that in my undergrad to the career I have now. So the opportunity to provide that opportunity for some of our students is certainly worthwhile for me.
Completely agreed. And similarly, I really started my career in education as an America Reads tutor as a work-study student. So totally identify there, Brendan, and agree on the power of these types of roles for launching a range of types of careers. And I also really like your highlight of how this really fits into the mission of your institution, and encourage others as they think about ways to propose this type of work to folks in your institution, really focusing on how it aligns with existing mission, vision, challenges your institution might already be working to address. Thank you, Brendan. My next question is for Dr. Leandri. Colleges and universities are answering the call to action that the Department of Education has issued through a variety of campus departments and offices, ranging from schools of education to enrollment services and more. Can you tell us about how Rockland Community College is implementing your campus's federal work-study goal through the career and professional development space?
Yeah, of course. And I also just want to concur with Brandon and you. I was a work-study student too as well. And it actually kind of changed my life. My original goal was to become an accountant, and my working in the student activities office myself kind of just changed my trajectory. So it opened me up to a variety of different things. At Rockland Community College, we kind of have like a four-tiered approach. The first thing too, again, is really to make sure that the work-based learning that happens is part of your strategic plan. So we really kind of got buy-in with faculty, staff, and administration. And that was key because it allowed us to really take a look at it and see how it fits within our strategic plan, but also we're able to incentivize by giving credit. So making sure that it's actually part of an overall strategic plan is going to be key when you think about implementation. Secondly, we provide supports from beginning to end. So we ensure that, Sharada is part of orientation. We have work-based learning supports for both the faculty, the staff, our outside stakeholders, and the students. So everyone kind of is on one accord. We also changed the title of the individuals who work within our career services. We don't see helping students as just advising them. And now the titles are career navigators, which basically takes more of a proactive approach to helping students navigate that whole career continuum. We implemented a variety of different tools. One of them was 1220. The second one is Focus 2, so we could really create that awareness piece and ensuring that students could access it in an easy manner. Before it was segmented across the campus, we were using Google Sheets, Google Forms, and it just wasn't a clear approach. And then last but not least, we have an employer and community engagement network that kind of helps us identify other funding sources that you had mentioned, and also helps us create other opportunities for work-based learning. And at the end of the day, it always provides a good feedback loop in regards to what we're doing with our curriculum. So those are just some of the things that we've been working on.
Thank you, Dr. Leandri. And I love the focus both on meaningful and practical opportunities for work-based learning, and also the focus on ensuring that your college students who are working in these roles are fully supported throughout the process. I imagine for many college students are often earlier in their career and may need extra support, and also support in connecting these types of opportunities with potential career opportunities down the road. I think that leads us well into my next question for Sharada. As an interim career navigator, you're in a student-facing role, as I understand it, and you provide direct services. And you're also the primary point of contact for your institution in this work, reflecting how crucial this program staff have been in answering the call to action. How are you working with your campus leadership, districts, and community-based organizations to recruit, place, and support college students in P-12 support roles?
Sure. So I will be collaborating and participating in ongoing meetings with Rockland Community College's admissions and federal work study departments, as well as working with students, outreach, and recruitment activities. The recruitment process will entail Rockland Community College's on-site recruitment, off-site outreach, and community activities, sending out flyers and email blasts, and students' word-of-mouth referrals. The mentors will be a good match for the high school students because of their firsthand experiences that they encounter. They will be able to relate to what high school students may be encountering with while in high school as they prepare to transition to go into college.
Thank you so much, and really appreciate, again, this focus on really practical strategies and who in your institution is really key in terms of being a collaborator, because we know at colleges, as well as in the broader field, this work happens more effectively when done in partnership with others rather than in a silo. So thank you, Sharada. My final question, a bit of a lightning round for all of our panelists. In one sentence, maybe two, what advice do you have for colleges and universities who are aspiring to partner with nonprofits and or school districts in their regions to move from setting a goal to actually implementing and creating a plan of action? Clifton, I'll start with you.
I think I'd start with no plan or no idea is too small. As a small regional institution, we looked at that 250,000 number and was like, how do we actively participate and make an impact on that? But I think it's important to realize that each student impacted by these tutors, the mentor, success coaches, is a significant impact in their life, in their future communities' lives, their families. And so be okay with starting small and plan, have open discussions. You're going to run into barriers. You're going to have processes. So talk about bureaucracies in higher education. They exist in K through 12, down to getting access to your tutors to get cleared to be on campus. So just having those open conversations and keeping the dialogue going is really important.
Completely agreed. Thank you. Brendan, I'll go to you next.
I think I'd start by just kind of piggybacking on something you talked about earlier, Kate, and that's, don't think about having to reinvent the wheel. Your colleges are likely already doing work with nonprofits within your communities or school districts in your communities, and you can likely very easily fit the federal work study program and the work of the National Partnership for Student Success in with that work you're already doing.
Agreed. Dr. Leandri.
I think making sure that your college is working on investing in that practicum experience. When I started working at the college, we didn't necessarily have an office. And every time you spoke to an employer, they not only wanted the inside curriculum, but they also wanted individuals to have that applied learning. And that comes through work study and a variety of other things that's work-based learning related. So I think it's really pushing administration to actualize how important these outside the classroom experiences are.
Agreed. Thank you. Sharda, close us out.
Of course, I would say the college supportive systems will provide an integral role with the preparation of job readiness skills training that is essential for assisting the students with retention, completion, and employment placement. So basically just have a good relationship with like your admissions department as well as the federal work study department, so you can have that open communication with each other, so you know how many students that may be needed to support your goal of the 15%.
Completely agreed. Collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. Thank you, Sharda. And thank you to everyone on the panel. I really appreciate, I know each of you took time out of your busy schedules, not only to be here today, but to prepare for this panel. And I really appreciate it at a time of year when I know you all are incredibly busy. So really appreciate you coming here to share your wisdom and experience with our network. Next, we will go into the Q&A section. I think we have a couple questions here, but please, I encourage folks to submit questions via the Q&A function on your screen as they come up, or if you have questions about particular things that were said either by me or by our panelists, please feel free to add. So our first question is wondering about using federal work study to fill staffing shortages within a community partner. And it says, I was under the impression that federal work study prohibits students from being placed in a job that was formerly filled by a staff member within the organization, as opposed to a strictly volunteer position. To clarify here, in terms of partnerships with community partners, we encourage you to think about these partnerships in terms of new roles, that are providing NPSS aligned supports to ensure that you are aligned with federal work study guidance. In terms of existing positions, this is a place where I would encourage you to use other funding streams or other partnership tools that outside of federal work study to ensure that you're remaining in compliance with guidance. So thank you for asking this question, and apologies if I did not make this clear earlier. So the next question that we often get, and I encourage folks to submit questions as they come up. We often get questions about, for example, if our campus were to sign on with this initiative, would the college be responsible for meeting the 15% community service spending requirement beginning in year one? The answer to this question is no. Really, this is a 2-year initiative, and we encourage institutions to set realistic but ambitious goals over the course of 2 years. So if you set a goal of 15%, the goal is for you to be at 15% by the end of your second year in this initiative. So by the spring of 2025. Obviously, if you meet that goal in year one and want to make a bigger goal for year two, great. But we know that this takes work and it takes time to implement. And another question that we frequently get in these webinars is that considering that this is a voluntary initiative, would there be a penalty if the college falls short of meeting the goal of 15% community service spending? The answer is there is no penalty. This is not a change in legislation or regulation. It's a call to action that we're not in a position to penalize folks who fall short of their goals or who do not meet their goals, but we're really looking to celebrate growth, celebrate promising practices, in whatever size that growth may be. And I really appreciate Clifton's advice around setting a goal that's realistic for your institution, and knowing that even if you're at a small institution, there is a place for you within the National Partnership for Student Success Higher Education Coalition, and knowing that, as Clifton mentioned, every student who's in one of these high impact roles has an impact on K-12 students, but also part of what we're trying to foster through our coalition is a place for information sharing. A small program may develop a really innovative practice that can benefit a larger program and vice versa. So not only the impact on students, but the impact on other folks who are in this coalition has the potential to be significant. Great, I don't see any other questions. I think we'll have time for probably one or two more if questions do come up. But with that, Stephanie, I'd love to go into how to get involved and what next steps are. Oh, and I see one more question that I'll answer quickly. So there's a question about, with federal work-study funds being limited on our campus due to robust federal work-study programs, is there an opportunity to have our federal work-study allocation increase to further expand our community service? They're already meeting the 15% at this campus. As I mentioned before, unfortunately, this initiative is it's not a change in regulation, legislation, or funding amounts. It really is focused on a voluntary effort to increase the number of students in these roles. So the answer is no, but I would still encourage you to engage in this work, either through federal work study or through other funding streams, credit-bearing opportunities, or volunteer programs. Thank you, Stephanie. So next steps. To answer the president's call to action and get involved in the National Partnership for Student Success, I encourage institutions to join the Higher Education Coalition at the National Partnership for Student Success. What this means is really setting a goal to increase the number of your students who are serving in NPSS roles. Again, those are tutors, mentors, student success coaches, post-secondary transition coaches or pre-college advisors, and people who are coordinating wraparound or integrated student supports. So set this public goal to support P-12 students and share your progress with the NPSS, both in terms of baseline and on an annual basis, so that we're able to celebrate your progress. How to do this? My colleague Stephanie just put a link in the chat for a place that you can submit your goal through the National Partnership for Student Success. If you're not ready to submit a goal yet, I understand this can be a complex process. I encourage you to ask for more information via the standard form on our website. You can request technical assistance, or we do have a couple of upcoming webinars that are focused on the initiative. And we also have the opportunity to schedule a meeting with our Director of Higher Education Partnerships, knowing that this work really can look different at each campus, and in some cases really do require a one-to-one conversation. In a webinar setting may not always be the best. And thank you, Stephanie, for putting her email in the chat. Unfortunately, she is not able to be with us here today, but is very responsive. And again, I really encourage folks to request technical assistance, in particular, when you're looking for matching support, implementation support, or folks who may already be doing this work in your community, who might be strong partners, whether they're schools, districts, or community-based organizations. And with that, I really want to thank everyone for joining our call today, and encourage you to reach out to get involved, to ask questions, and especially want to thank our panelists for taking time out of their busy schedules to join us here and share their expertise. Thank you all.